Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also listen to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and we have a PayPal account for any donations that you'd like to give. Your generosity is greatly appreciated.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gate Expectations podcast, where I bring in a weekly guest, talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh!, and get to know a little more about each person I talk to. It's the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast that is run by a full-fledged journalist such as myself. This is episode 32. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check out earlier podcasts with guests like Stephen Trifanowski, Jesse Cotton, Team Samurai X1, Farfa, Crush Cards, Simo, and many more. My guest for this week is a Twitch streamer with almost 2,000 followers and a Yu-Gi tuber with almost 18,000 subs. They're a YCS topper and has topped the most recent remote duel extravaganza. It's Alyse Davis, aka Alyseium. Alyse, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Never had that extravagant of an intro for myself before, so appreciate it.
I was trying to talk up all of my guests before I get them in, though. Get a little hype in there before I bring them in.
It's more hype than I give myself, so it works.
Well, I mean, speaking of hype, lately you've been circulating all around my social media as of late when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. You've been playing very hot these past couple of years. You topped Chicago, for example, with strikers, second strikers before the whole pandemic went down, and then you made the qualifier with a really odd deck choice with the Adamancipator Prank-Kids, and then when you went to the extravaganza, you topped with the Drytron Megalith, something that wasn't really so popular with the Drytron build. So you've had a lot of success in the past couple of years. So it's a big reason why I wanted to bring you onto the podcast because of your recent success.
Yeah, all that is, I don't know, it's kind of random too for me. For example, I know I've been getting a lot of attention because of the Adamancipator deck, and that was literally just because my friend Jibril, who also topped the LCS with the deck, just has been grinding with it, and I just decided to pick it up and play it because I was annoyed with Drytron at the time because I think every Drytron player has gotten to the point where they get a little bit too annoyed by everyone oversighting for it. And it's just all right, I need a small break. And I thought it was just fun. And because when I first went into the qualifiers, it was, a 30-person tournament and the deck was performing decently. So I thought I probably have nothing to lose by, playing something that's not one of the best decks, because I usually try and do that, and that's something I always encourage people to do. And I went undefeated in Swiss, which was really nice. I lost to a buddy in Top Cut, but yeah, I don't know. The deck performed well for a good 2-3 weeks, but it's weird, but it worked.
Do you feel you caught a lot of people off guard with that deck when you were playing during the Swiss rounds?
Yeah, the thing is, a lot of people, it's weird how easily people forget about what cards do super quickly. It's not even been, 6 months since Adamancipator was, the best deck and the deck that was on everyone's radar. And then they're like, wait, what does that do? And and usually people, at the time, since I, did so much with Drytron and, whatnot, people still expected me to be on it, and it's kind of weird because I'm one of those people that switches decks very often. So it's just also I remember when I did top with Drytron, I was really memeing in the Discord chat. I was just Ray is Bay constantly. So I even had someone who was wait, I thought you were playing Striker, and I'm like, no, I'm just bored because we're in a 14-hour tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And those tournament, I know that that extravaganza was extremely taxing for a lot of people just because of how long it took. I mean, I had friends who would just hop onto our Discord server and just hey, I got an hour and a half or between matches. Anybody want to have a fun game or something like that to kind of tune me up? And that was just a common thing. And it was 2 a.m. where I was. I know you're an hour behind me, but people were still going at 2 a.m. and that would be ludicrous for if we ever had an in real life tournament like that. So I mean, how was it going through all those hours and then after that do a YouTube video on your own deck list after that?
I don't know. So there was one point in the tournament I had a 3-round break because, or I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh for like 3 hours because one of my opponents like dropped, and I finished one of my matches like early enough to where I had enough of a break, and it was just like I was just sitting there bored. But otherwise, like I'm used to the grind for the most part because when I play in events, a lot of the time, like not on purpose or anything like that, I either have little or no sleep. And, you know, having to play the whole entire tournament day one where it's like 8 to 9 rounds, it's not something that's foreign to me. It just wasn't as enjoyable with this because you don't get the same camaraderie as you would if you're at a like IRL event, because you can't just, you know, walk around to your like 20 friend groups and hang out with them and, you know, pass the time and whatever. In this, it's just like, you know, everyone is either kind of doing their own thing, or because like a lot of my friends in the first extravaganza I played in, like weren't really like playing in it or doing anything between rounds. So it was just like, it was only a chore, like in the aspect of not having as much to do, but otherwise, like it was just another day at Yu-Gi-Oh! At the end of the day. I'm sitting at home, I don't work, so I had nothing to do the next day. So it wasn't a problem. And then the YouTube video was pretty simple, honestly. If I was already up till that point, I can quick do a YouTube video.
Well, first of all, I think majority of us, if not all of us, can relate that, you know, we're never going to have enough sleep for like big Yu-Gi-Oh events, for like regionals or anything higher than ever. Because for one thing, we always want to test before the night before, and we sacrifice a lot of like sleep for test time to make sure that, you know, the event we're going to, like, we're doing well. So I'm pretty sure we can all relate with that. And then second of all, as you mentioned, you know, when you're at home, it might be a little bit trickier to pass the time because, yeah, when I don't know, YCS or whatnot, I want to go hang out with like all my friends that I barely ever get to see, or I only get to see like once in a blue moon. So that kind of takes away from like whatever like anxiety or like intention that you might get. And then, you know, if you have nothing else to take off your mind, I feel like maybe you have a little bit more like anxiety or like that kind of tension when you're at home, like waiting for like 2 hours, 3 hours for your next match.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and the thing is too, with it being like an online event in nature and not really being able to like really know what's going on at every minute, because like when you're at an event you can kind of see what's going on, see what the holdup is and like all of that kind of stuff. But then with this, like you don't know, oh, are we actually going to start it soon? Do I have enough time to do this, that? Like it becomes a worry. So like the first extravaganza I planned, I also didn't even like eat a meal during that time because I'm like, I'm just going to be lazy and just stick it out just so I make sure I'm there for it, even though I had plenty of time. But, you know, you never know, especially with the online nature. So it just got a little weirder with that, but it's fine.
Did you actually like go out and all to eat or anything, or to even step out of your house or anything like that when you were doing the extravaganza?
When I had the 3-hour break, I did, because I was like, I need a couple snacks, because like I didn't want to commit to a full meal, but like I was like, I can do some snacks right now. That's fine. So like I quick did that, but then the second one I just stayed in my room the entire time, basically, like did water refills, and like the day before I got snacks. So, like nothing major otherwise.
So is it fair to say that because like the delays in between were like kind of unpredictable, like you really couldn't like commit to doing anything outside to like pass the time for you to like go to your next duel or anything like that?
It was me just more being paranoid, even though I knew I had plenty of time. I just wanted to be on the safe side because I know what it's like to like get that random game loss because you were late, or like I want to make sure I'm there and I'm like have enough time to set up because of how quickly they can sometimes start rounds. So I'd rather just be completely prepared when like I'm used to the like no food, no sleep like diet like at events. So like I can last it. So it's not really a problem. So I just grit and bear it because it's less anxiety to deal with it otherwise.
And I'm sure that we've all gone through, again, like the whole streak of like when we're at an event, we haven't eaten or anything like that. Like a lot of us are running on like pure adrenaline, like especially near like the later rounds at that point if we're actually still in the tournament. So again, I feel for you on that, and that's why now I always bring at least like a snack and a drink with me like every time I go to an event, just so I don't get like hangry or anything like that. Because I know that there have been mistakes that I've made because like I've been just like I've been upset, or like I just want to eat food or something like that. That's something I would think about, and I especially had that a lot with a lot of my friends as well. So I am sure that like majority of us can relate to that same scenario that you were going through during that extravaganza.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like the most important thing was in any event is at least stay hydrated, and like I'm the kind of weirdo that I can survive without the food. Like, that's just me being, like, insane. But everyone else should at least eat something. Like, I always troll people. I'm like, nah, the diet is no sleep, no food. Just drink some water. You'll be fine. But it's purely a meme. I'm just the weirdo that can do it. But no one else should copy me. It is not fun. It's not enjoyable. Don't suffer for no reason when you don't have to.
Yeah, really. When I go to like Toronto regionals, because that's like the main regionals I would go to, they would always put like water for us to drink. That stuff would be gone in like minutes because like Yu-Gi-Oh players would like just destroy the free water that's given to them like crazy.
At least they're drinking water. That's all I can say.
I mean, hydration is incredibly important, especially during like these long events.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen when you're not.
Yeah, I mean, hydration is just important in general. And that's why, like, on my Twitch chat, I have a command that's to hydrate, to, like, remind me to hydrate, remind everyone else to hydrate. Just as a fun little thing, but also, like, I think just drinking water is important in general, so...
Really is. Remember that. Make sure you're hydrated for your matches, people. So when you were playing like the Adamancipator Prank-Kids, like you went undefeated Swiss, and then when you decided for the Extravaganza, you decided to go with Drytrons, but not just Drytrons with Megalith, which was it was known that was there, but it was like wasn't regarded as the more popular choice like the Herald. So what made you decide to like switch decks and then not to mention switch to that variant of Drytron?
So actually that Extravaganza top was before the qualifier, and the Extravaganza I played in after was with Adamancipator Prank-Kids again.
Oh, okay. I gotta mix it up.
No, you're all good. But I mean, I can talk about why I played that Drytron deck anyways, because at the time, like Jesse Cotton had, I think got first or second at that one LCS with playing the Herald version, and like the Megalith version wasn't getting as much credit as Jesse's list was. I know a lot of people were probably gravitating more towards that than they were the Megalith cards. And the reason why I like the Megalith cards is they just felt like they had more versatility. Like, because the end board would get all the way up to like Appaloosa, Dweller, and then Bethor on their turn, which is like a pop 3 to 4. So like it felt like it was gonna do like plenty and wasn't gonna like, you know, get broken as easily, and it was just gonna do everything you needed to anyways. I didn't have like an extensive knowledge of the deck before I decided to play it. I just knew that I needed to play a Drytron deck, and that was just the list I went with because I felt comfortable with it. And like I was able to, you know, get the list to a point where it was like I felt like it was fine, and it definitely like did exactly what I wanted to. And like going forward, there are definitely like different things to do with it, and I think the Herald build still ends up being better. But I think at the time, with Drytron knowledge being so low, and like the Virtual World deck was still a little bit like not as overly prominent as it was, so that meant like there's gonna be a lot of other different matchups, which the Megalith cards are really good against, because like being able to just have multiple different extenders and then also have a way to like clear your opponent's board so you have safety to play on the next turn was really nice. But yeah, I think the Herald cards are better right now, but it could definitely change with a ban list coming up. I think the Megalith cards are like a close second to like stuff you should play in the deck. It's just you need to, especially now with how the format's kind of been defined, hand traps are really important too, and it's hard to fit everything into a single package. Like if I could play the Megalith cards, I would, but it's just not justifiable with needing to make your deck have as much offensive and defensive cards as possible. And you just need to find the right mix, and the Megalith cards just don't work in it right now. But as long as you know how to play the Drytron deck, which it's actually kind of a difficult deck, like you should be fine without having the extra stuff in it and being able to kind of, you know, play with the basics, so they say.
Do you feel that at least like with the Megalith version of it was a little bit better against like all like the backer decks and kind of like the maybe more like the rogue decks because of Bethor's like power to be able to like pop so many cards?
Yeah, it was purely that, because like sometimes with the Drytron deck at the time, like they could slowly grind you out, but if I'm gonna like go end phase or like they set everything and I go full effect to like some of the Bethor pop all their back row, they lose their grind ability and they lose their ability to like play on my turn, which means I'm gonna outgrind them. Like actually I'm just gonna win the next turn instead of having to grind with them. So like it definitely adds a lot, because like if people are playing trap decks, especially then, they would play like Torrential and Strike. It were like really popular back row at the time, and that just made it so I didn't have to worry about those cards, and I could just auto win at that point, as opposed to like if I just summon a Herald, I could just lose to a Strike. And also like Zoo was really popular at the time too, so it definitely helped play into Zoo a lot more than like you could otherwise. So yeah,
Yeah, because at the point you really didn't care if Bethra got popped. You just care if Bethra gets its effect out. That's all you really cared for.
If it resolved, I was probably winning that game, and yeah, I'll be fine with that otherwise, as long as it meant I win the game.
So now that when you went to the Adamancipator Prank-Kids, again, like tell me like the synergy between that deck of like how those two like actually interact together, if at all.
Yeah, so it actually is like really synergetic with each other, because one of the Prank-Kids, which is Roxy's, is a rock monster. So you get to have like a ton of cards that have availability to like get into it, and it's just another consistency engine. So like when we ran the deck, it was a way to summon the Battle Butler, because it would also like it would climb up to a point. It also like Roxy's was like a consistency card, because like you got to fix your hand by banishing a random card and like seeing a different card, so you got to like potentially fix your hand and get something better. And then there were cards like the Quackimera Supplier and the Parallel Exceed that also comboed really well with it, because they would just summon themselves, and then eventually you can go summon Gallant Granite and then search your Researcher and then just completely go off from there. So like the fact that I can also see Roxy's off the like Adamancipator monsters, it was very nice and facilitated comboing very easily. And the Adamancipator cards are like really strong as they are. I thought that the deck, even with Black Dragon getting banned, was gonna find a way to play at some point. And I think this is the best way to do it, because it gave it the consistency boost that it needed. And like it's definitely not the best choice right now, just because like it can still get outpaced. It still doesn't have the same recursion, but the raw power of it was what helped it like start off. And if you stayed with that power throughout the game, you're probably winning. But it just doesn't have the same recursion that the other best decks do, which is why it's kind of weird, but it's really consistent and has a lot of different play strings. So you have a lot of stuff you can do, and it's hard to stop at times too. So it's just, I don't know. It was a good recipe to like mess around with at the time. And obviously it worked out for like me and the person who made it and everyone else who decided to play it. So
yeah, not to mention that Meow Meow Mew was like came out at the time, so you had like the one card starter in any prank kit that you drew. I know you played 6, and 3 of them were Roxy's, and they looked like to me when I saw your deck list that the whole point of the prank kits was just to help you build the board, but they also like deck thin your deck like very quickly, because that's what prank kids do. They eat the deck like crazy, and that like really helped you like get into like the rest of your Adamancipator engine on top of that once you get that one prank kit. So that's kind of the reason why you ran like 3 Roxy's, because it was searchable with Gallant Granite, and then you can keep like comboing off from there on out. So like I see the connection that's kind of bridged between it. So I think those prank kits like added like a depth of speed to the deck as well as deck.
Yeah, exactly. And then in the initial build, which is the one that I topped with, it had the Battle Butler engine, which added a different dimension of interruption for the deck, because then it, like, when you look at an Adamancipator port in general right now, it's like maybe a few negates or whatever, and Dropout was really popular at the time. So like you could literally get your whole board just droplet in, and they like used all their resources, but then you still have the set Pandemonium to then butler them on their turn twice. So it just added another extra dimension at the time. And then like later on when Jibriel played the deck, which is like the true version of the deck where that was intended to be played in the long run, he cut most of the prank kids because it was just used as like an extender engine and a way to somewhat deck thin, yes, but also just as like consistency and having more board presence so you can build an even better board. And it literally just took the one card to do it, which is just Roxy's, and then any other card you had in your hand were just supplementary and got you there. So it was really nice having, because with the later combo, you literally ended on like Doodle and another Roxy's on board. So you just needed like one other extender, one other combo piece, and it literally just exploded from there. So it was really interesting to see how it unfolded like that.
And have you played that deck at all after the Extravaganza, or has it been like kind of put
I've played it a bit. I played it for like another 2 weeks after that, but like I said, I'm kind of the person that likes to like switch around and whatnot, and especially because of my stream, I've been having to like play a lot of different decks because like, you know, people donate for all that stuff, and I just have been on other decks when I'm like actually like playing seriously and what I, you know, want to play in the format, just because like also the Adamancipator deck is honestly a lot of luck factor at the same time. Even if like we have real combo pieces, there's still such an RNG factor that's so annoying to be on the wrong side of. So I needed a little break from that pure RNG into something that was like truly something I could control and something that was like, you know, pure skill that I didn't have to just rely on luck for at some points. So.
Okay. And speaking of your Twitch channel, I mean, this is something that you I believe you like recently started doing, like not like you started like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I like started streaming like a month ago. It was purely on a whim because I always kind of wanted to like, because I used to like stream like way back in the day, but I just did Pokemon, and like I've been wanting to slowly try and do Yu-Gi-Oh content, and like I kind of tried to do it when COVID kind of first started being a thing, but when I started doing it, it was all like DuelingBook stuff. Remote dueling wasn't a thing. And I don't know, DuelingBook for me, unless I'm like testing with friends or like, you know, playing with people I know, it can just get to be such a grind that it not only gets difficult to stream, but it just feels like it's boring for viewers and doesn't provide like the right content. But then I just, on a whim, I was like, hey, Cody, host me really quick because I want to like try streaming today. And it just worked out. Like since my first day I started, it's been so positive, so rewarding. Like everyone that's been watching has been loving it. Like a lot of the time we're just hanging out, chilling. Like, I don't know, it's been really cool, and I didn't expect it to be as positive and fun as it was, but I don't know, it worked out.
Yeah, because I've seen your YouTube channel before. Like I knew you used to stream like a lot of Pokemon back in the day, and you've done a little Fire Emblem, which I love as well. I love Fire Emblem too. I know that was like years ago, but like, yeah, but nowadays, like your YouTube channel has just been like purely Yu-Gi-Oh. And now that you went into Twitch, like you're almost already at 2K subscribers, which is huge considering like you've only been there for like barely 2 weeks, and that's incredible. So tell me more about what you actually do on your Twitch.
Yeah, so the basis of my Twitch channel is like just basically playing in remote duel locals. And like one of the main things that's been like a staple on my channel is like, because I introduced some donation incentives, and the main one is if you pay like a certain amount of money, I will play your deck for like a deck of your choice for a remote duel local, and then like provide like changes and other different things to try and assist and help your deck. And people are really like about it because it just gives like an option to play different things, while also, I don't know, people think I'm like a decent enough player, so they like having my perspective on all that stuff, which I don't know, they've been really liking it so far. But otherwise it's just, you know, we just hang out and chill and just talk about different Yu-Gi-Oh topics and just whatever for the most part. But it does gravitate more around remote dueling, because remote dueling is like so easy to make for content, and like it's so much more enjoyable to do than anything else like Yu-Gi-Oh related half the time. And I don't know, it's been really cool though.
So why is it that you think that doing like a live stream, just like you doing remote duels, is better than doing it on DuelingBook? If I'm
yeah, so it's because like if you're doing DuelingBook content, you have to deal with like DuelingBook rated, and DuelingBook rated is a beast in and of itself. You kind of like, to be a grinder on DB, you kind of just have to be willing to put up with a lot. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes down, you know, that you just have to deal with on DB, and it can get like into a slow grind. And I don't know, for me, it's harder for me to focus on DB than it is like actually playing Yu-Gi-Oh. And I don't know, I think also just seeing actual cards and whatnot, like people like that so much more than just looking at DuelingBook, because it like the interface is fine, but at the end of the day, it's still not the real game, and people want the real game, especially since we haven't had that in, you know, about a year now at this point. So it at least lets us harken back to that and feel like we have something still here, even though it's like not completely there. Plus, like, everyone always wants to see like tournaments happen and locals happen, and I think that's the best way to do it, because on DuelingBook Rated, that's just rated. You're playing against these random people, like, and not like nothing matters. But at least if I'm in a tournament setting, like, there's something riding on it. There's something cool about it, and I think, you know, people really like gravitating towards that experience.
And do you think that it also kind of provides like that more like personal touch when you play in real life? Not to mention that because that we've been wanting like locals back, because a lot of us haven't been able to play, that at least like give us that sense and that feel that we're at one when you do it with like remote duels, like in real life, or like, you know, that simulates like in real life.
Yeah, I think it definitely gives it a little bit more. It's definitely not even close to the same, but it's way better than nothing, and it still, you know, does a lot. And I feel like, I don't know, I didn't like it as much at first, because like it still wasn't the same thing, but it's grown to be better just because eventually, you know, especially with my streaming stuff, it's been like more interactive and more like a local, instead of me just like sitting there, all right, hey, we're playing, and then just quick play a game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That can just, you know, especially with how, you know, any sort of online Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be, it can sometimes, like, you know, there's always some sort of complication or whatever, but you get willing to put up with it if you're, you know, there and having a good time, I feel like.
And do you feel like also when you play on DB, you kind of get like, you with the grind, as you said, you might get paired up to like a bunch of like noobs or like newbies who are like not really good at the game, where is if you go to like a remote duel locals, like that kind of like filters out a lot of like the more the beginner stuff and kind of gets the more experienced players, so you actually have like, you know, like a good grind or a good match to play instead, rather than doing on DuelingBook.
To a degree, yeah. Like once you get high enough on DB, like you get through that, but it's just you don't get the same like personal experience that you do even through remote dueling. And like, sure, there are always going to be people that when you play in like any sort of local or anything that aren't going to be the most experienced or anything, but it's still like I can still sit there and kind of inform and teach them and help them like do a little bit better. Instead, if I'm on DuelingBook, I'm just like, dude, come on, please just do the right move, like do the thing. I want to move on with my life.
Yeah.
Like, at least there, like, if I'm at a local, I'm intending to do that, and I don't mind, like, helping them and whatnot. So, I don't know. I think the more personal experience makes it a lot easier instead of just being completely anonymous through a computer screen, because then it's just like, you know, people can be a lot more of dicks a lot of the time.
That's understandable, but then when you do remote duels, like you also get like a second voice in there with your opponent as well. So like, this is not like to bash anyone who's streaming like that, but it, you know, it prevents it from kind of being stale a little bit now that you're getting some extra voices in there as well. So that means there's a bit of back and forth, and it kind of keeps everything, you know, like a refreshing change of pace kind of thing. So that way it's not like just the same thing all the time over and over
right
again too.
Yeah, and like it removes a lot of the the staleness that can sometimes exist, because you're just like, cool, I get to play another game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Through my computer. But instead it's like I can finish a match and then like I can talk to my chat about everything that happened and like just discuss everything, and kind of like, especially when I'm doing like the donor requests, I can like talk about how I felt about like the deck during the match, especially if the person's there. We can kind of bounce ideas off of like whatever, because eventually at the end of the day I'll do a YouTube video about it, and it lets, you know, us provide more content towards it. And I don't know, the back and forth is just really nice for it.
Now, I know this was like roughly like 5-6 years ago when you did streaming for other content outside of Yu-Gi-Oh! Has there ever been any thought of you streaming anything else other than Yu-Gi-Oh! Again on your Twitch or YouTube platforms?
I don't really plan for it right now. Like I don't know, there's not much I do otherwise. Like I'll kind of just casually play games, and it's not like before when I used to do it, like it just felt like more of a chore than anything else, and I don't want it to turn back into that, because like even though there's some moments where I'm creating content for Yu-Gi-Oh, it can seem like a chore, but it feels less like it once it's all said and done. And I don't know, Yu-Gi-Oh content just flows really well for me, and I'd rather just like keep everything else more hobby basis, because there are times where I've been trying to like, Yu-Gi-Oh did become my job when I'd like work at card stores or I'd vend myself, and it just didn't like get as enjoyable, but like making content, it's kind of easy for the most. Well, okay, for my brand of content, it's kind of easy, but and you know, easy to accomplish and everything. And I like talking about this stuff, but if I have to like force it out and like just make it over the top, I'm not gonna enjoy it. So I'd rather keep like the other things I do more as like a hobby aspect and focus on what I can do best, because I feel like this is something I can do, you know, to the best of my ability and provide the, you know, proper, you know, content, as opposed to just something I just throw out there just to throw out there.
Yeah, because it seems like your heart is into it more than a Yu-Gi-Oh than in other things, and you'd rather not do something that's kind of like half-assed or anything like that. If you're gonna go this, you want to really put your heart into it.
And I don't know. Every time I've always tried to branch out, it always just ends up not being worth it, and it's just hard to justify. So I'd rather just put all my focus into one thing instead of trying to diversify out. If I get to the point where I'm big enough to where it's easy enough to branch out, then I would consider it maybe if that's what people wanted. But it's so hard to like ever branch out when you get into like a specific niche like this. So
have you ever had anything from your like suggestions from your fans or what from other people to like you'll branch out and start streaming other things, or has it just been strictly a Yu-Gi-Oh? Or
I don't know.
Nothing
people
like
have been like really just been okay with Yu-Gi-Oh. The only thing is like my old fans will pop up and be like, "We want more Pokemon content," and I'm like, "I'm not even into that game anymore. Like, that's not my thing at this point. Like, I wish I could to a degree get back into it, but every time I try to, I just don't enjoy it. So I can't force it, but that's the only thing. Otherwise, like Yu-Gi-Oh players, when they're on like a YouTube video or like a stream, they really only want to see Yu-Gi-Oh. It's really hard to like branch out, because I know like Cody sometimes tries to like do some League streams or do some like Apex streams or whatever, and then he loses like over half his viewership. Which like there's still some people that stick around, but it's hard when you get into a super niche to like branch out of it, and it's unfortunate, but it's understandable.
Yeah, and that's why I always tell people with my podcast, you know, it's like not every single podcast I put out is going to be for everybody. There's always just going to be something there for somebody, and that's why I kind of try to diversify and really cover like all kinds of talks, so I get something like that. But again, but then there's the inherent flaw in that, is that like where the people that were here for this subject, they're not going to be naturally attracted to this subject, and then they won't tune in because of it. So I completely understand that you want to stick to one, and then that's what we can gain like majority of your viewership, and that's kind of like a good way to kind of develop.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather build myself up, over time and get it to a point where maybe I can consider it. But for now, there's like no real good and easy way to organically do it. So it's just better to not for now, but if it gets to the point where we like both my viewers and me feel like we can do something and it's something fun for all of us, then sure. But for now, it just doesn't feel like that, especially when I'm trying to like grow the brand back up.
And that I can completely understand, because again, like the more you focus on like one thing, like the better that one thing gets, and like eventually that's what you want to like kind of help you take off and become big. So like I completely understand that, and I'm totally with you on that one. It's just somehow that just seems to be not how my podcasts go, but yeah. I completely get where you're coming from. But do you think that, like, when I look at your Twitch, I mean, I just think, like 1.9K followers for, like, as popular as you are, especially on YouTube, it doesn't seem like much, but you only started 2 weeks ago. It's like, did you expect?
Oh,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, a lot of those followers, because, like, I used to stream, like, with my Pokemon stuff back in the day, a lot of it was that, and I was actually just looking at my analytics, but I still got, like, 600 followers in the last month, so that's probably decent.
Yeah, I mean that's still a good that's like still a great following to have, considering like you've only been on for like, again, not even 2 weeks. Like, did you expect for your Twitch channel to grow that fast though?
To a decent degree, just because I knew like people know who I am. I'm not like oblivious to it. I am aware that people are aware of my existence and whatnot. So I knew like I would at least get something, especially because like I do know a lot of like the top Twitch streamers. So like the fact that I know people and like I can get that boost really early, and the fact that people just knew me, I kind of expected it to a degree, but the fact that it stuck around and it's made me encouraged to keep going and going is what's actually the amazing part about it. Cause I didn't expect it to be as good. I expected it to be something. I expected it to be something I could like try out for a bit and see how it went. But the fact that we're getting to the point where we're just having so much upward growth, and I don't know, I think that's really cool, and I'm really excited to see where it goes more, and like, yeah, it'll be really interesting to see.
I mean, that's how I originally like reached out to you, was just watching your streams, and then I finally decided when the schedule fit. I'm like, hey, why do you want to come on my podcast? Or I'll DM you later on. And that's why we brought you here today. But is there any difference between like the content that you have on your Twitch compared to the content you have on your YouTube?
So like, I guess the intention I have for my YouTube is like, I kind of want to do more structured content there, and like on my YouTube, it's more going to be like generalized talking points as opposed to like, here's a deck profile, here's these cards I picked. Like, I know that's kind of been some of the content I've been putting up lately, is just like, because I'm also putting up a lot of like stream videos of like stuff I did on stream, but the main content I want to produce on the YouTube channel is more like structured, like informative stuff that are supposed to like intend to help you get a bit better at the game, or like question some concepts, or more generalized stuff in like of concepts of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a lot of people don't do that. They try and focus on the current, they focus on the now, they focus on like ban list stuff. I'm trying to do something a little different that's going to set me apart. I don't know if it's going to succeed. I know it probably won't compared to like what everyone else does, but it's just what I personally want to produce. And like, that's fine. Otherwise, my Twitch channel is like a really laid back place. I could kind of just have free reign to do whatever I want. People just go with it, and it's just a chill, fun hangout at the end of the day. It's not something that needs to be like super stressful or anything. Like, I don't know, I'm pretty sure I've gotten drunk a few times on my stream, and it's just like, it's been a fun time. Like, it's that kind of stuff. It's just, we have fun and stuff. It's not like it has to be anything like super, like high strung and like stressful. It's just a fun, chill experience where I've just been able to like, I can casually just stream for 8 hours, and then I just look at my like timer on Streamlabs. I'm like, wait, I've been streaming for 8 hours. Oops. I might need to stop soon, so.
And I've seen drunk streams before, like Crush Cards. I've seen them do it several times. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny when they get into it. So I know people will pay to see that happen. So yeah, definitely like a fun, laid back experience for sure, as you said. And some people like that kind of stuff. And I've done it several times, not on stream, but I've like done like drunk Yu-Gi-Oh with my friends before, even like nights before, like doing regionals where we shouldn't be doing it, but we do it anyways. And it's totally happened before. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen again whenever events go up for me. So just to put it out there, you're not going to be the only one that has that kind of thought process of getting drunk on stream.
I more just meant like the general laid back attitude of a Twitch stream is like, there's some people that have to be like a lot more high strung and like have to be more like structured and composed. But in mine especially, I feel like it's just like a hangout zone more than anything else. Like sometimes I'll just like whip out the binder, we'll just go over random things, or just like, I think one night I was just like sorting stuff because I had to give a bunch of stuff back, so I was just getting everything sorted, and we were just kind of talking in the chat and just chilling. Like, I don't know, it's been really nice and laid back. And like, yeah, the Twitch is more the laid back fun stuff. The YouTube is more meant to be the structured, really thought process stuff. Like, I get kind of deep on my Twitch channel sometimes because people like to ask me that, like, the greater concepts of Yu-Gi-Oh, which I might not be able to fully answer, but I still do it to the best of my ability. And like, we still get in those moods, but otherwise it's like really fun, chill, laid back stuff.
Yeah, and that's exactly what like Twitch is supposed to be. It's that let's hang out, let's chill, that relaxed atmosphere where it's kind of like a free for all, as opposed to YouTube. Like, you don't really put stuff on YouTube just like, hey, let's just hang out, and that's just put on a video. And it's like, hey, we just hang out and do that. Like there's a purpose for YouTube as opposed to Twitch. You can just kind of just do whatever you want at that point in time. So I'm glad that you pointed that up, because some people like to want to stream on YouTube or want to just put all their streaming stuff on YouTube. It can kind of get a bit of a mess, and then they kind of get mixed into things. But it's good that you have that Twitch and YouTube to kind of differentiate the kind of content that you have. So it's like at least a little bit more neat and organized. When people
exactly. I like having the different stuff, and it keeps it fresh on both ends, because then I feel more comfortable. Like, if I'm like a little bit dragged down of like just only having fun, I can do a couple serious like constructed stuff, like, or if I'm just like getting super annoyed by the videos I have to make, I can just go have some fun. So it's a nice duality between the two of them. So
yeah, and not to mention that you can also take like your clips and highlights from whatever on your Twitch streams and even bring them and then import them into YouTube too, so that way they can still get like tastes of what you have on your Twitch.
That's what I've been trying to do too, because like I mentioned earlier, like the donor requests for me to play their decks at locals, that's like the main thing I've been uploading lately. But I've been like using it like half as padding, half like for until I make the next structured thing, and then half as you know, a way to draw people in more, because I think there's like a lot of it's, you know, still has something to do with my YouTube, because I have to like go methodically over everything and like analyze it to a degree that people would want me to. So it kind of provides like the best of like both worlds in a way. So yeah.
I mean, that I completely understand, because like, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky to kind of like, you know, get the balance between like your Twitch and your YouTube, because, you know, you want both of them to be successful. But again, of course, when you like kind of focus like two different attentions, well, it can be difficult to try to get them at the growth that you want per se, unless you can interchange them. But then again, we know that, you know, subs on Twitch are a little bit harder to get because people pay for them, as opposed to YouTube. You don't really have to pay for any of those subs. They can just one click.
Well, I mean, follows exist, so.
Oh, that's true. That I mean, there is that too. That's speaking of like of your YouTube channel. You posted a video recently which has garnered some pretty solid attention that I've seen. It was you know, you pointed out that, you know, net decking was one of the better ways to get it one of the best ways to get better at Yu-Gi-Oh. Could you like?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Did you hear me there?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. For a second. Yeah, I think someone tried to call me there. That's what happened. So, anyway, could you like talk more about that video? Because to me, it's garnered so much attention as of late.
Yeah, it was really funny because like I posted on Zodiac at first. Like I like, you know, the initial like, hey, go check out this video. I would really appreciate it. And the Zodiac post got more attention than the video itself got, which was kind of like, we could have at least gone over to watch the video. And like a lot of the people that even commented on the Zodiac post didn't even watch the video, and it was like crazy. And I don't know, I knew it was going to be a controversial topic to a degree, but I didn't think it was going to be that bad. But then like every single like pro player that like saw the post on Zodiac actually took the time to watch the video, but they also knew I knew what I was talking about anyways, because I know these people. And like every single one of them was like, yeah, you're right, good video. And then it was like everyone else that was like, nah, it's bad, because they don't understand the full concepts of how you can like grow and understand with a deck to like learn the greater concepts. And instead people just flat put it as copy a deck, play. They don't understand like the deeper concepts that you can have when learning a deck. And I think that's when it like people, you know, it's bad, but if you do it right, then it's really good and you learn a lot. Because like one of the points I made in the video is like, I'm actually not a person that uses like my own constructed lists a lot of the time. Like you'll see almost every single deck profile I put up will say I got this list from someone else and I made a change like a couple cards, but like the foundation and everything, most of what was done was from everyone else, because I know how to like use my resources properly. Because if I'm not gonna like do as good of a job as I would like to, I'd rather someone else pick up the slack, and you know, we work together to make the best product. And I think if you're not as experienced with it, it's one of the best ways to learn, and then you can learn from that deck and how it was constructed and put that towards future deck building. And then you also get to like work on your technical play sooner and have like a lot more to work with, as opposed to if you spent like, let's say you had to spend like a week building a deck and then you had to play it the next week, so then you have to spend another week testing the deck. But if you just got the deck right away, you can spend those full 2 weeks testing and getting that full understanding of it, and you can even make some informed changes after that. So I don't know, I think when you do it right, it's a really powerful tool. But yeah, of course, when you do something half-assed, you're never going to get results. So
would you agree that, you know, net decking is at least good to a point, but there's still at least some kind of like, not creativity per se, but there still has to be like your own like play style that you have to like modify with the deck in order to maximize it? Or you think it's just pure net decking is just good enough to get the way to go here?
Well, okay, so I don't agree with the play style argument. I think what you need to look at is the growth of the format and what's happening around. Because at the end of the day, there are still going to be technically correct choices that exist. So you should make changes, yes, but you should do it as like informed choices for what is going on in the current format and not so much what you think you want to play more to like make it original. And the thing is, once you like really sit down and analyze how a deck is built, you can understand, because there's a lot of creativity that even goes into standard lists, and they become standard because they've worked and they were good, but it still took a lot of time to get to that point. And being able to understand what got it to that point is going to let you like be able to pick apart decks in the future and understand those concepts that you might not have been able to understand before. And so you just gain another like deeper level of understanding that you might not have had before, that you get to have now because you have a finished product in front of you that you can sit and analyze, as opposed to having to make your own products that you can't really have the same amount of like time and effort testing, because there's some people that put in hundreds of hours into the single deck, and now it's like a study sheet that you get for homework is you get an ability to get a greater understanding compared to having to like make the study sheet on your own. So I think that's how I look at it. And at the end of the day, like as long as you make the correct choices for what the format and the meta is evolving to, I think you're fine. But don't look at it purely as like you need to be creative for yourself. If you're trying to gain success in the game, you need to do like what you think is going to be the best way for you to succeed. And if this is how you do it, no one should have to fault you, or like no one should fault you for that, and they should respect you because like it's a competitive game. Why should you get faulted for doing what's going to make you the most competitive?
And I remember seeing the Zodiac post that was there, and yeah, it was absolutely crazy at that point, because again, just people just kind of read like the surface, like the title, they just see it on a surface and then kind of go from there. It's not like they don't like actually see what you meant in depth by that, and then because they don't do that, they don't understand like the nuances that might be there, compared to what your title is, because you have to explain your title on top of that too, and people just automatically just go right at your throat for it. So that's definitely like a one thing that I can understand why like you had to explain it in the video, but a lot of people just be at your throat at it because like they're just going by that one little statement that you just make and not really like go further with it.
And I mean, at the end of the day, if they're going to flame me for it, they're going to flame me for it. Like, I know at the end of the day that I am actually right about this. Like, this is one of those, like, there's a few things I can say with 100% certainty I know I am right about, because I 100% know I'm right about this. And if people, people are just too stuck in the mentality of, like, trying to be creative and trying to do this or that. And it's like, okay, if you're trying to get better, you got to look at what are the most efficient ways to do that. And if you're not going to do that for yourself, then sure, that's fine. That's what you prefer to do. But don't, come down on other people that are trying to better their game in the best way possible. And it just happens to be that this is one of the best ways possible.
Yeah. I mean, I had this conversation with Yassine on my podcast when he was on, and he told me that, net decking is like, it's good to an extent, because at least like when you net deck, you at least can understand like the basics, the foundation, how the deck operates, like know where its weak points are, and just get like a really good understanding of the deck. But then once you learn like that everything from net decking, then that's where you're able to start, like maybe if you want to like branch off or maybe add another tech here and there, then that's where you can go off of. But it's a good foundation to at least start by net decking and then kind of work your way around from there.
Right. If you completely rely on it, like it's not the best thing, but the intention was never to completely rely on it. But like there's still even some cases where like some people don't just entirely always like build their decks, do their things. Like we've seen literally like Nats, the last Nats we had, the national champion did not build his own deck list. And like, why would you not want to play with something that's like going to give you your best chances? And it's a similar concept, is just, he still used it to grow and understand it. And like, if you're not using it as a learning tool, then yeah, you're going to fall short every time. And I think that's where people fall short, is they don't use it as an opportunity to learn. They just use it as an opportunity to blindly play and exist. And I think that's where it gets to the, you know, bad name it has for itself, and is where, you know, it's not doing you any good because you're not using it to learn, and you think you can learn from other facets where you have so much to learn from it that you're just not letting yourself do.
Yeah, and that's kind of like one of the misrepresentations that like you had so much on that Zodiac thread is that you know, people didn't actually click on the video, so they're easily like kind of misrepresenting what you're saying because they didn't do that, and it just makes it that much more easier to like attack and flame you and whatnot when if you actually just click on the video, you actually go in depth and explain everything, so that way you're supposed to clear up these nuances, but again, that's just the nature of the internet, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, no, and
they just want it quick and easy.
I expected it to a degree, but at the end of the day, if you already had your opinion about it, you probably weren't clicking on the video anyways, and you were already gonna do the same thing. So like, it's really not that big of a deal. It's just like, all right, I just know you are comfortable where you are, and you don't want to get better. That's fine. Like, it's not my concern at the end of the day. Now I did my job.
Yeah, and I can completely understand that. I mean, it got attention anyway, which was good, and it's and you're starting to really develop like your own following again, like over almost 18,000 subscribers on YouTube. So I mean, I know you've been around the block for quite some time. Like I'm well aware of your name for years, so I know that you've had this mainstay popular. It's just that lately, in the past like couple of weeks, you've just exploded out of nowhere, and I think the Twitch really helped to kind of like help promote your name even more, like make it more popular than you already are as it is.
Like I said, it was really useful that like people, like, I'm one of the few female Yu-Gi-Oh players that exist in this game, so like that definitely helps. And then the fact that like Cody, Pack, and like all these people, like they know me, I'm friends with them, and like they're willing to, you know, throw the bone my way because of course they're going to help out their friends. And like there's even these other big content creators that still know who I am and still willing to like throw me the bone because they want like to see everyone else succeed. So like, it's, I don't know, the Twitch community is really good to each other, and like we all try and help each other out. So I mean, I haven't been able to do as much helping myself as I'd like to, but you know, I'm going to get to that point. But you know, we're all good and friendly with each other, and it's just nice to help all of us grow with each other. So
yeah, and I think that's a really good thing. That's what's been happening right now, at least like with the Yu-Gi-Oh community, even though like Zodiac may not be like a great representation of it, but at least like all like the content creators and whatnot, that we're not trying to compete with each other. Like we're actually trying to like build each other up. Like there's so many like YouTubers that like collaborate with each other. Same thing with Twitch. Like it happens all over the place. We're trying to build all of each other up. And a lot of the guests that I have on my podcast, where we become friends. Like we would talk a lot more. Like even before we had the podcast. And like that's a really great thing to do. It's like we're all building ourselves up because like, you know, we truly like each other's product, and you know, as a result, like we all get bigger and better. And it's nice to see that, you know, like the friendships you have with everyone else is really starting to promote your product, because like your product has been like improving well over time, that when I've been watching your stuff.
No, I'm really happy where I'm getting to it, because like, I mean, I've only been like very into the like Yu-Gi-Oh community for like a few years now, and it's still crazy just with only like a limited amount of tops that I do have, that I've been able to still grow into like there are people who call me like a household name, a staple, and I'm still just like bewildered by that. And like, but it helps me grow the brand. So like, I just have to kind of like grit and bear it, because I don't see it as that. I'm like, because I always view myself as a person that like, because I'm friends with a lot of pro players, and like when we go to events, like I'm hanging out with them, I just assume I'm some girl that's just hanging out with, you know, those guys. But like I would also test with them too, and like I would get in the nit and gritty with them, and like, you know, we would all have all that stuff, and it's just nice to see it kind of all like transform into a true like viewable product that of like my growth around here. So it's cool to see how it, you know, manifests itself. So
Yeah, and again, like you don't want to underestimate you just because like you're a girl per se, because that's something we don't see a whole lot of. Like we have like very few like women that are like competitive in the game, but you're one of them first of all, and you're like, and not to mention you're producing like quality content on top of that. So I think it's almost like a benchmark kind of platform that you're setting for everyone else out there to show, yeah, like I can do this too. It's not a big deal. It's not because I'm a girl or anything. It's because I'm just good at the game, and you've been doing that on your streams, and you do that with the events that you've topped as well.
Yeah, like no one thinks that I can't compete with them. Like they know I'm like on their skill level or can like, you know, properly help them test or properly do whatever. So, and I like, you know, I've gotten really lucky in opportunities I've been able to get, and I like to be able to try and like spread that, you know, spread the wealth around, so to say. And the wealth is like the wealth of knowledge, and I think that's like a really important thing in the game that like it's not like I'm revealing like insane stuff we need to keep to ourselves. I'm you know, revealing like general things that are still going to like help you grow and succeed the same way I did, but I'm not going to like, you know, give out all the trade secrets, but you know, a little bit here and there, it's still going to do a lot of good. So I like trying to do what I can and, you know, give back in a sense.
You know, speaking of giving back, I know one of your donation incentives on your Twitch is that you have people, you know, just gives you like just a small pocket change just to like rate their deck and, you know, suggest changes to it. Is that something that you get often on your Twitch?
I have people ask me about that, and that's like the main thing with like the donor reviews, like the $15 ones for me to play their deck in locals. They also want to see me like play it so I can get a better understanding to help their deck. And they also like seeing the playing aspect of it too, because like sure, me looking at a deck list and suggesting these little changes here or there like are cool and all, but if they actually get to see me play it, they also get a better understanding of how I look at how I'm playing a deck, and maybe they can learn some plays about it that they wouldn't have known before, or just gain some sort of deeper understanding. So it gets to even go like a level deeper than just, all right, I'm going to kind of try and fix up your list and see what we can do. But we're actually like taking it to a whole nother level, which I don't think a lot of people do to the same degree, which I think is, I'm going to hope that's going to be my draw for right now. And that I can, you know, continue to like produce, you know, quality enough content with that people are happy with the product at the end of the day. And, you know, I just get to help them out. So. Yeah.
And speaking of which, I think yesterday you put up I think you streamed up online for Twitch, and I think you're playing you're playing the Bird Up deck on your Twitch, if I recall correctly.
Yep, I was doing that. I streamed on Tuesday and I uploaded the video yesterday. But yeah, that was actually just one of my friends that donated for it, because there's some people also that kind of just want to like mess around with me, and like he knew I didn't like the deck as much, but like it still gave a different perspective and gave like a good talking point to go through everything. And it still was like something people enjoyed watching, you know, me playing a deck that I might not be the most comfortable with, but still playing it to a degree that they might not have thought of before, and just seeing like what I might think of it and how I might, you know, warp and change it. So I don't know. I think people like it to some degree, at least.
I mean, this deck has started to gain a little bit of a little popularity, at least, and like, or at least people are like, you know, talking about the deck. I haven't really seen it in action yet. So, like, can you talk to me more about how this deck actually operates?
Yeah. So the concept of the deck is just to eventually be able to link climb into because like your typical end board is the Simorg link, summoning either the barrier statue or the Apex Avian, and then you'll have like one or two means of protection via like the Ancient Warrior link and like Link Kriba for attacking. And just trying to have like, you know, a decent foundation built up, because it really easily like is able to like climb and have its consistency to it. And like the bird cards guarantee you have some potential form of like recursion afterwards, or just some OTK potential as well. It's really versatile in a sense, because you have a lot of different resources to work with, but it has this weird, I don't know, like it tunnel visions into one specific play as opposed to the other decks, which I don't like as much. And it has some easier stopping points to a degree, but I think it's definitely like a different concept deck that's really cool to mess around with. And it can contend for sure. I just don't know if it's, you know, at the level everyone wants it to be, but it's still something new and cool that's worth messing around with. So,
is it one of those decks where there's like a million different ways to get to just like one end result that you want, or is it like, or there's like different end results you can have?
The end results don't vary much because you can't put up like a ton of different negates compared to what a traditional like deck would be. Like if we look at Dragon Link from last format and how those negates were built up, the best I'm ending on is like a barrier statue, a bounce, and then if I'm like open insane, maybe I can also have an Appaloosa, but it doesn't, it just has a weird way of doing it at some points that you get tunnel visioned into the same play, and it sometimes can just fall short because if you open really poorly, then you just end like a barrier statue with a Smorg Link pass, and then you can kind of just lose from there. Or like there are some choke points for hand traps that it gets weird. I don't know. Its end board is weird, but I think it has potential. I just don't know when we're going to be able to like fully reach and realize that potential.
Is it a deck that you would consider playing at locals on like on your own free will, or only if you got paid to do it?
Right now, only if I got paid. It's just not something I truly, I don't know. I just don't think it's good enough to a degree or does enough like different cool stuff. Like if I'm playing like a real deck, I'm going to try and play one of the best decks or something that's like, you know, really able to do a lot. Like I really like the Adamancipator deck and that just had so much it could do. But then we go to the Bird deck and it's like, you still have to tunnel vision on a specific play. You can't like kind of freestyle it in a way. And yeah, I don't know. It's not one of the decks I've enjoyed the most. It's fine, but in the realm of like decks I normally like to play, it just feels like it's really like I don't know, constricting, I guess. And even though it has a lot of resources that do different things, you still just can't do as many different things as you like to. So yeah.
And that's something I wanted to circle around back to, where you said that, you know, you only really like playing the, like, not really like the top tier decks, but like maybe like a tier 2 deck or something like that. Can you explain why that is? Do you like to play those kinds of decks?
I just like being able to compete to the best of my ability. I'm kind of a really competitive person in nature. And if I feel like I'm just doing a disservice to myself if like I'm not doing that, because I want to be able to, you know, do the best I can. Like I obviously travel to events and do everything I do because I want to like perform and do well. And if I'm not playing something that isn't gonna fully get me there, I don't consider it worth it. Like I know I've made some substandard picks in the past that have still gotten me there, but at the end of the day, I'd still rather try and give myself the best chance I can. And like if we have some like secret thing that we realize might be the right pick, then you know we can go off the beaten path. But otherwise, like if you're playing a best deck, you're giving yourself the best chances, and you also get to play like with your entire deck essentially, because that's like a lot of what best decks have become these days is playing with your entire deck, which really lets your skill shine through as a player, as opposed to like if I'm just playing an Altergeist deck, I set 4 cards, summon Marionette or pass. Like there's still some nuances you have, but you have to still really think about and formulate everything you do. A lot of people think it's just I have to memorize 15 combos, but there's so much more to do with it that like it harkens a lot to like what people liked in Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, which is like you know, a lot of back and forth. And with hand traps being a thing, you still have to have that same like skill set of being able to do that back and forth, because then you have to adjust and adapt to each situation. And yeah, being able to have access to your entire deck with one of the best decks is going to really let that shine through as like growing as a skillful player. And if you do it wrong, you just get punished horribly and then you just lose. But if you do it right, like you're going to get to that spot and it's going to end up working. So it gives me the best, you know, playability I can without like sacrificing anything else. And it just lets me continue to grow as a player as well.
Yeah, and I really love playing those decks where I get punished like terribly if I play badly, because like that's I feel like that's like one of the best ways to learn is like, you know, if you make the mistake, like you get paid for it. That's like, I think the great way of showing that, okay, this is where you screwed up. Don't do it again. Because like, I want to be a better player myself too. And, you know, sometimes mistakes are the best way to go. So, and that's what, and it forces me. So when I actually play that, I'm like meticulous and I've thought everything over before I make the play. So that way, like I'm coming up with the best result ever, as opposed to just kind of like winging it in a sense and then like leave myself open for a shot, you know? So I like that where if you make a mistake, get punished for it. And I love doing the same to my opponents. If they make a mistake, I will punish them as much as I possibly can for doing that play.
Yeah, I especially like that on stream because like literally like if I see my opponent, just like if I think I'm gonna lose and I'm just sitting there like yes, this is where it's going, and then literally I'll see them mess up and I literally have the opening to just destroy them. I like silently freak out, and then I get to see the chat's reaction too, and it's just such a fun back and forth moment.
do the people when you play on Twitch, do they know that they're being
I always ask them before if they're okay with it. If they're not okay with it, then like I haven't actually had someone say no yet, but I always ask first. You kind of have to, but I mean, I also don't pay attention. Like, since there's enough of delay on stream, like it's not like Twitch can tell me what to do, and like usually there's no one that's like in the chat that I'm really gonna like hard look at anyways. I just take some glances to make sure no one's like spamming or doing something, you know, that's TOS or whatever. Like sometimes chat will checks or find some illegal plays and like just let me know, and like that's the one thing I'll let happen, because if it's an illegal play, then like, you know, we can't really like let it continue. And otherwise, like I very much tune them out, and but getting the reaction from the yes, we did it is, you know, really fun.
So have you been like really enjoying your Twitch experience in these 2 weeks that you've been going?
Yeah, it's been about a month, but yeah, I don't know, it's been really positive and exciting. And I'm really excited to see how much more I can grow it, and like everyone around me is really positive, wants to see what happens. And then my friends like to joke around too, like, oh, you're gonna become like Twitch famous, you're gonna get the simp army and everything. And I'm like, oh god, no, I'm just trying to stream some Yu-Gi-Oh and have fun, you know. So, and that's what it's been so far. I really like it a lot.
I think when I asked you on stream to come on my podcast, I think you had one of your friends kind of mock me for fun when I'd asked you, because I asked you like pretty formally and like professionally about it, and I think I got mocked on stream. I just
I was like,
kind of chuckled and
there's no problem. It's like, it's the best way to hit me up probably at the time, because I don't know, I'm very bad at like, I don't know, I'm not the most social person, even though I'm like very social on my Twitch, so it's probably like harder to like randomly find and get in touch with me. So I was like, the best way to do it, I'm like, well, he isn't doing anything wrong, he's working his grind, like. And, you know, there's sometimes always joking around. I wonder if it was my girlfriend or not that said that to you, but I don't remember.
I think it was a man that that did it that kind of mocked me.
It was funny. I don't care. It's just like, that's how Twitch can be sometimes, and we all just mess around, and like obviously I'm here, so it's not, you know, anything like that.
Yeah, no, of course not. I mean, like when I did my podcast with Farfa, he live streamed it on, and when I was doing my intro, he kind of mocked me a little bit in his avatar. And when I saw it, I was like trying not to laugh because I was doing my intro. And so I was watching the stream the whole thing. But I mean, when you go to Farfa, I mean, those kind of things are happening. That's what you expect from him. So it's not like I'm gonna like walk into a fire and then complain that it's hot. You know, if I'm gonna go to Farfa, I'm gonna expect to be like mocked a little bit in some.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, it should be known that like with Farfa's content, it's all in good fun, and like it is. I don't know. I think that's like one of the things too, is if you know you're going to be around Farfa, watching his stream, watching his content, doing anything, like you have to, you know, be all ready for that. Like my girlfriend is the biggest Farfa fan. We'll just be sitting in bed one day and then she'll just yell pendulum at me. And I'm just like, woman, is this not enough for you? Like, I don't know. So I have to deal with it in the Yu-Gi-Oh world and outside of it. And it's like, yeah, I know Farfa. Like, yeah, I get it, woman.
Oh, he's always a hoot, and like all his Twitter's just pretty entertaining because it's all like making a mockery of a lot of things and making fun of it. But he'll make fun of himself sometimes too. So it's like you gotta have a little bit of thick skin when you're with him. But like once you like get by that, he was actually like a pleasure to talk to when we like actually got down to like business and brass tacks when we actually did the podcast. But of course, like that's just who he is. That's what he does, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's his thing. It's just maybe not everybody's into it, but again, I had no problem with it all. But that's just the kind of thing that just comes up because like we all like to joke around and have fun at the end of the day, and sometimes we'll make fun of each other on top of it. I know I've made fun of we all make fun of each other, like we're as friends. Like I made fun of my friends, they made fun of me. I'm sure you have the same experiences too with your friends, and that just happens.
No, like I'm always in like Cody's stream, Cody Angeloff, and like I will literally just call him a bully constantly but I mean we also like literally usually stay with each other every event. Like we're like we're those kinds of friends where I can just publicly like come at you on stream and just he knows I'm messing with him, and it's the fun back and forth that we have. And like the thing is too with Farfa, I think there's always gonna need to be someone like him in a community, but at the end of the day we all know he's a good dude, we all know he means well, and like it's the thing he has to do. And like I think that's something people forget too about a lot of these YouTube people. Like for example, like Sam and Trif, they always get like this flack for this or that, but they actually like know what they're doing to such a smart degree. And like I've met both of those dudes like outside of like the YouTube world, and like we've just been at events, and they're like some of the sweetest people you've ever talked to, and like they're super smart and cool. And it's just like you got to remember at the end of the day, like they're doing this for like part for content's sake, but like they're doing everything they do in a very smart way. Even if it's Farfa's dumb jokes, like he's still being very calculated and smart with whatever he does. And I think that's also something really cool to look at too, is like people being smart with their content.
And that's exactly it. They may like act stupid or anything like that, but they're being absolutely intelligent about it. Like there's a story that I heard a while ago where like the jester in a king's court is actually like the smartest person in the kingdom. He's the only one who can like speak the truth to the king. He's the only one that's that can like say whatever he wants and get away with it. And that's kind of like what Farfa is. He's plays that jester role where like he can say whatever he wants, but there's like some of it can be true, some of it can be really funny, but but he knows exactly what he's doing. Like he knows like how to carry his brand, and that's how he does.
And the thing is, that's crazy too, is like he can even bridge the gap between like the Yu-Gi-Oh community and Konami because he's done work for them. And it's crazy. There was a point where they're like, "What's a Farfa? Like, why would we ever want to like make anything with this guy?" And now he's like a mainstay with them, and it really shows like once you learn how to like pick and choose everything and know how to like properly like navigate it all, how like I don't know, I think that requires like so much smarts that I probably wouldn't have myself, but dude knows what he's doing. So
yeah, and he does. And you're absolutely also right about the same thing with Trif and Sam, because they live like about 90 minutes away from where I live. I live very close to them. So I've been to events with them before, and I know them like outside of like their YouTube personality. Although Trif is, again, like he's still pretty loud as it is, but he's still like a pretty cool guy. He's not quite as like obnoxious as he might like perceive himself, or like confident and like machismo like in real life. And Sam, like he's still kind of a hype guy, but also like really nice, really awesome to hang around. We've been at Bo Tang's wedding before. I mentioned that like a million times in the podcast. We've hung out before, and we've gotten drunk together. We've like eaten a ton of food together. So like Sam and Trif are really cool to hang out with. Like again, like they're still relatively the same of what we see them online. Maybe it's like a slight more like elevated version of them per se, but they're still very genuine in how they act like in real life compared to how they act like on their YouTube. And I think that like really resonates with a lot of people, because that's really who they are.
Like I know people always like try and come at Sam for like his casual-ish content and like some of the stuff he puts out, but like people don't realize how actually smart he is when he comes to YouTube. And like his role in the Yu-Gi-Oh community is so important that like if he stopped making the content that he did, it would not grow to the depths that it has today. Like he's still an important mainstay, and you may not like it, but it's an important bridge that needs to exist, and he handles it very well and very smartly that like you can't deny his necessary impact that exists.
Yeah, definitely so, because like even though there's like a bunch of Sam haters that could be out there, but he's got a great following, I being one of them, and like he's done a fantastic job with his content. I mean, he's obviously doing something right if he's like one of the most popular YouTubers out there. Like
right.
he's doing something, which again,
and
is,
he knows
like,
how
really
to spread
good.
it around too. It's not like he's keeping everything to himself. He's trying to like grow everyone at the same time too, and being that gateway, it's a really important thing that needs to exist, and he navigates it really well and still makes sure like everything gets spread around. And like, yeah, I don't know. When you're thinking about flaming a Sam video or something, like at the end of the day, he is making the gateway content that we need, that like needs to exist, but people aren't ready for that conversation, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like his stuff is at least like a gateway for people to kind of get into things. You know, like I know he always puts like his videos like the best and whatnot, but that's because he believes that they're the best. But then again, like if you don't believe they're the best, then fine. Like you can at least like use that as like a platform to kind of branch out like your own style or whatnot, or like your own modification to a deck, because I do that all the time too. Like I might take someone's deck list, oh, then like I'm going to tweak it to like the way I like it or the way it suits my style, or if I think that like there's this really cool tech that I think we can implement into it, you know, at least he's providing something, at least a service for us in some way, shape, or form that we can use like for in whatever way we want.
Right, exactly. So like it's a necessary role, and like he does it really well. So yeah, I appreciate that. And then like then there's the Trif aspect. There's this one story I have about Trif that like it, because so right after he got his one YCS top, you know, jokingly, but he got that YCS top, and like a month later, one of my main testing partners, Justin Singh, he was like visiting me, and he was on DB, and he was trying to actually play the pendulum deck, like his own little like twist on it or whatever, and like he's actually trying to play it, and he got paired against Trif on DB and rated. And like Trif literally took the time to sit there and coach him through all the plays and like all these different nuances and everything. And like Trif literally beat himself in the match just to help Justin learn. This dude that he didn't even know, never had interacted with, but like he took the time to like really help him learn it and understand it and like actually be like a good, wholesome person, which cemented like, yeah, this dude, like, he's literally just trying to be YouTube dumb, but, like, you know, trying to... He has this thing he wants to do, but he's actually, like, one of the sweetest dudes ever, and the fact that he was that helpful to a complete stranger, who then, like, literally because of, like, the help from Trif, Justin went on to, like, win an ARG, like, a few weeks later, and, like, I don't know, that experience was, like, super humbling of, like, knowing, okay, yeah, so I actually can, like Trif.
Yeah, and the funny thing is too is that like I remember seeing like Justin winning that event, and he won it with Pendulum Magicians, which was the funny thing because he talked to the man who is like, you know, specializes in it. So that's kind of a funny thing. I did play Trif once at a regional, and he was the only person who actually 2-0'd me. But after we had that match, it's like we ran through everything, we talked through it, and you know, like what moves could we make? We didn't make. We realized, you know, I was kind of stuck with like for the most part. His deck was just better than mine at the time because he was better suited for the matchup. But like we walked through everything, and he was just fantastic about it when we talked. And you know, he gave me a great match. It was like round 6 or something. Both of us were 5-0 to go in the tournament. So I mean, we were doing really well. But he just like, it was a great match that we had in between. I mean, again, he took the time out to talk to me and like run through like, hey, what could we have done? What could we have not have done? Like we had a great conversation about it at the end of it. Of course, I wanted to beat him because that would have been nice, but nonetheless, like he still like walked me through everything. He was great about it all. It's funny how like when you actually sit down and have like a real conversation with these people that you see on YouTube, that you'll see like they're a lot more similar like you and I, like they're more down to earth than you think. Like they're willing to have like a regular normal conversation because that's what they are at the end of the day. They're just
exactly. And it's like some people forget that, and like, and I know like even if I have like a bad opinion of someone because I don't like their YouTube content, I'm never gonna like hold it against them as a person. But it's just like it doesn't mean I need to like care about them or exist in their like sphere or whatever, you know. And it's like, yeah, that sort of aspect.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, it's one thing to like a person, and there's another thing to like their content. You can like one and not the other. It's completely possible to do so. And that's something that that can kind of get like caught in the got caught in the mix and maybe not be able to differentiate, but they're not mutually exclusive to each other for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when I look at your content too on YouTube, before this whole pandemic went down, you used to do a lot of deck profiles, and then of course the pandemic started to hit, and then you kind of focused a little bit more on like a bit of like your little talking head videos, just offering your opinions, and then more on your stream clips. Let's say if like where the pandemic were to get over, would be done and over with. Would you go back to doing these deck profiles, or would you kind of like continue along the same path that you're on now?
The deck profiles, like, okay, so like in the last few years, like I haven't really been like a consistent, YouTuber or whatever. The deck profiles just go up when I do well at events, and they're just a catalog, my tops and whatnot. So that's never gonna go away because I want to upload my own deck profiles. Like, I want to be able to do that. But once the pandemic is gone, I don't know exactly how the content will change, like as far as like streaming and whatnot, but I want to try and do some of the same stuff and carry that forward. But 100%, like I know the Extravaganza is coming up this weekend, so if I do well, I'll do a deck profile of that. Like I only do deck profiles when I 100% like did well with it, or I know with certainty like this is a cool deck I want to show off. But like generally I don't do that because I don't have that innovative of actual deck building. So it's literally just when I top for the most part, and obviously I haven't been able to top like since pandemic, so
Do you have any idea what you're going to run at the next Extravaganza?
I don't know exactly yet. There's a couple things floating around. Like Drytron's always a thing. Like I know Dragon Link's been popping up, and obviously Virtual World is just I always consider like every single possibility I can have until like the last second, and like I'm well acquainted enough with like everything to like make a decent enough switch. And like even if I haven't played a deck for long, it doesn't take long to really like get a good grasp of it. Like the qualifier that I topped with Adamancipator, I literally didn't play a single match before I played in that tournament, and it's just because I knew the deck to a decent enough degree where I felt like I didn't test hands or whatever, but I didn't like play a real game of Yu-Gi-Oh, and I kind of just like went with it and like saw what happened. And just because I knew general technical play, it helped carry me, so I can kind of count on that if I like last minute decide to switch decks.
Okay, so you're so not entirely sure yet, but I'm sure you'll pop a surprise or two, or once it actually happens. Knowing the kind of decks that you play, so I'll leave that a mystery for now. But is there anything like upcoming on your Twitch or YouTube that we should know about, or
nothing
that you want to
special? Like the only content I have planned for YouTube right now is like I have a couple videos coming up where like one of them is like a discussion about the product prosperity, because a lot of people question like what you should be playing in it, or what decks you should play it in and whatnot. And I know that's like a really heated discussion, and I don't even know if I have the right perspective, but I kind of want to throw my 2 cents into it and whatnot. And then like I plan on doing like a video about like the differences between like control and combo decks, and why playing a best deck can like help you grow as a player. So it's just general concepts like that right now for like structured YouTube content. Twitch, I don't have anything major right now. It's like I still just kind of need to go through the regular grind to get where I need to get. I know there's the LCS next month. I'll be streaming that at the very least. So that'll be like the first really big tournament I can stream. So that'll be exciting.
Awesome. So at least we got that up there, yeah. Because LCSs have been really hot lately, and I talked to Hani about it last week about it. So that'll be exciting to watch for sure. Because those things, I love watching them because of the sheer like amount of competition that they're in those tournaments are just absolutely awesome. It's like superstar matchup like almost every round. It's somewhere it's there. You just gotta find it. And I just love watching
like
it.
I haven't really competed much just because like for a bit I wasn't really into the online scene. Like I was kind of just doing more like helping out at like my local shop and stuff, with, COVID restrictions and everything in mind. But like, did a lot more IRL stuff. But then because I randomly just on a whim decided to start Twitch streaming, I kind of want to get back fully into like the online world and like, just, see where I can get and see what I can do. And, hopefully get a few more of these online tops under my belt and at least, keep relevant and whatnot.
Absolutely, and I know best of luck to you in these upcoming tournaments. I mean, you've been on a tear lately, so let's see if you can kind of continue that streak, especially with the kind of style that you play your deck. So I'm interested to see how well you perform. And good luck to you
appreciate
in these
that. I
upcoming
hope I
tournaments.
can do okay too.
Well,
Yep.
let's cross our fingers. Well, Alyse, it's been wonderful having you on. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be on here. Is there any shout outs you want to give before
Yeah,
I
I'll
let
just
you
give
go?
shout outs to like my team, Midwest Gaming. There's this team I'm sponsored by right now. And then our sponsor, YGO Daily. I think we have a promo code for it. It's like MWG5 or something. It's on like all my YouTube videos and Twitch. And shout out to my local store, TGG Gaming. They're like, really growing as like a store, and like we never really had like an amazing locals in Minnesota like for Yu-Gi-Oh, and we're trying to like really do that, and like we're even trying to do like streaming at the store, having like a really big website, and then like just having a huge presence all over. So trying to do that, and then I guess shout out to my girlfriend who is putting up with me doing this interview right now. And like shout out to everyone who just made it so I could be a success, like Justin Singh, Cody Angeloff. Like those are two of my biggest like best friends in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, and like they've been some of the biggest supports and made it so I could get to the point where I am. So huge shout outs to them. They deserve a lot. But yeah, I think that's about it.
And all the links will be in the description below for her sponsors and the Twitch and YouTube. Alyse Davis here along with the Alyse, aka Alyseium. Thank you so much again for joining me on the podcast. Really appreciate having you on. And again, good luck to you in the upcoming events that you're going to be playing.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. I
absolutely
enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. And you have yourself a wonderful day.
Yeah, you too. Have a good one.
Have a good one.